Well, good morning. It is July 2nd, day 56 on the trail for me. It's a little bit after 6, and it's about 55 degrees out. So, nice, cool start to the morning. I've left the Trapper John shelter area, and I looked it up last night. So I sent I try to remember to send a check-in through the app I'm using called Far Out. And so I sent a check-in and said, okay, I'm staying at the Trapper John shelter. And my wife messaged me a few minutes later. She said, Trapper John, like MASH? I'm like, I think so. I'm not sure if it's a coincidence or intentional. So I looked it up, and it turns out that it was intentional. Evidently in a book with the MASH characters, the author stated that Trapper John went to Dartmouth, and this shelter area, it was built and maintained by the Dartmouth Outing Club. And I think in the book he said, he even mentioned that he wanted to plant a flag. He wanted to plant the DOC, the Dartmouth Outing Club flag, on the top of Everest or something. So anyways, they named the shelter after Trapper John, the character, because he went to Dartmouth, fictionally. So I thought that was funny. I'm sure, Hank and Jan and Hank, you'll get a kick out of that, right? Because I know you've always liked that show. I've enjoyed it too. I just haven't seen them all. All right, anyways, the plan for today is short. Well, it's short in miles, but not in challenge. It's only, the sign says it's only 11.2 miles to, I think it's called the Hexacuba shelter, which is going to be interesting. I think it's also maintained by the Dartmouth Club, and it's, I think, the only shelter on the AT that's in the shape of a hexagon. And I think I saw that the privy is a pentagon. So we'll have to see when we get there. But only 11.2 miles today. But I'm going to show that elevation map, and there are some steep climbs today. Like at some points, it's over a 15% grade, which is, so in a sense, 5%, over 5% is usually when they start putting signs on the roads for trucks to, use lower gears. And at some points I'm going to be hiking up at a 15% grade. So it'll be a bit challenging. But that's all right. Otherwise, last night, slept reasonably well, and feeling pretty good today. Feet are doing all right, and yeah. So, as always, if I see anything interesting, I will grab a picture or some video. And here's what the trail looks like right now. So here's the trail right now. I'm maybe a quarter of the way through the climb. Get a nice view. We turn around. Good view from here. And there's the trail. Still doing a bit of a ridge walk here. And, you know, that's where I'm headed. I don't know if it'll show how well it'll show up, but there's a fire tower up there. That's on, Smarts Mountain. And yeah, that's where I got to get to. It's about 2.1 miles still to go. Trail is that way. All right, so on top of the fire tower on Smarts Mountain, and we get a 360-degree view here. Pretty good. And this is to the north. That, I think, is Mount Cube, which we hit tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure that is Musalaki, which is the next day. Further out to the right, just to the right of Musalaki, I think is Washington, which is, I don't know, 6 days away probably. Crossing Jacobs Brook. I think I'm going to cross it again in a little bit. On another ridge walk, and we get a decent view here. Just a little bit higher, and an even better view. And this is the Hexacuba shelter, and it does appear to be pretty much a regular hexagon. It's open on two sides. There's some folks in there, so I don't want to bother them. But it's open on the inside. There's actually a lot of room on the inside of the shelter. It's probably one of the bigger shelters that isn't a lofted shelter. Pretty cool. All right, so I'm at the Hexacuba shelter, and here's the Penta Privy. It is a pentagon, but it's not a regular pentagon. The other two sides are at a right angle. You can sort of see here. Yeah, so they're at a right angle, and then so two sides are at a right angle, and then three sides are at interesting angles. I was expecting, and honestly, as a math teacher, I was hoping for a regular pentagon, but it's not. Oh well. All right, well, that's about it for the day. It was a shorter day of hiking. Still plenty strenuous. yeah, so we got to climb a mountain, got some nice peaks, some views, and yeah, so it was a pretty good day. Interesting shelter, right? The hexagon shelter and the pentagon privy. That's always fun to see those sorts of things. And then just the standard, lean-tos and boxes. Yeah, so let's see what's coming up tomorrow. A couple more mountains, Mount Cube and Mount Mist. So yeah, I pretty much start off the morning with a 1,000-foot climb to the peak of Mount Cube, and then a 2,000-foot descent, and then some other small ups and downs, and then hit Mount Mist, and then down into, oh gosh, I can't remember which town, but I'm going to stay at a hostel tomorrow night, get a small resupply, and then the next day I'm going over Mount Musalaki, and it's supposed to be one of the more interesting descents. I've been changing my mind on this a couple of times, but I'm gonna go over northbound. Some other guys that I'm sort of hiking with, I asked what they were doing there. They're just going over the normal way with their full pack. So yeah, I think I can do it. It's a little bit more challenging. You got to really pay attention on the descent. So see how that goes. And then I'm gonna stay in a hostel again for 2 nights. I'm gonna slack pack over the Kinsmans, which looks like it's a more difficult. It's 16 miles, but it looks like it's a lot of rough terrain besides the climbs. A lot of rough terrain. So I'm gonna slack pack over that instead of Musalaki. Yeah, so you'll see that over the next few days. Yeah. All right, well, that's about it. I'm all set for bed, and even though it's only like 6:40, I'm gonna try and get to sleep a little earlier tonight, wake up a little earlier in the morning, and get moving. Did get a little warm today, even though it's really nice out now. It's supposed to get down into the low 50s or high 40s overnight, but it does get warm during the day. So I'm gonna try and get most of my miles done, before it really gets hot. So, as always, if you stuck through to the end, I appreciate it. I will see you again tomorrow on the trail.